at some point you can't hear me or you can't see my screen anymore, just indicating the normal chat. So,
Sorry, sorry, sorry to cut you short. I think you're kind of like echoing. I think you're echoing.
I'm echoing. Does every other person think the same? Am I still echoing?
And just maybe I don't know. We can just continue, but you're echoing like you're echoing a bit for you.
Okay, okay. Um, okay. Still give me a moment here. You can still hear me, right? If you can hear me, just say something.
I hear you.
Okay. Okay, okay, that's cool. Alright. Alright, so let's just go back to the class. I'm sorry, but I don't know. This is the only way we can actually manage for today that you guys can actually see what's going on and still hear me a bit. So if I echo so much, I'm sorry about that. Just try your best to like hear me anyway you can. So let's just dive into today's work. So yesterday, I wasn't here for the class, but I'm aware that the tutor for yesterday treated the uses of blockchain and following up from the first class we had, which is introduction to blockchain, to the uses of blockchain. I'm very sure you've been able to understand the basic concept of blockchain and why we even need it, right? Because for every there's a saying that everything that is invented is for a particular problem. It's a solution to a particular problem. So if at the end of the day, blockchain is not useful to the world, it's useless, right? Because there's no need for its invention. So today we are going to be treating consensus mechanism, how decentralized networks reach agreements. In our last class, the last class I had with you guys, for those of us that were there, we spoke about the blockchain and how it's a decentralized system, right? And the fact that it's not like other centralized, the fact that it's not like other centralized systems like the bank and everything where you have like board members that make decisions. And we brought up a concern that if there are no persons, if there's no board, if there's nobody in charge of this thing, then how do these systems operate? How do these systems operate? What really happens? How do we confirm if something happened is true? How are we going to confirm if it's valid? Those are the things we talked about. And then we established the fact that the consensus is what the blockchain uses to run every trust, validation, and agreement system. So today we'll be looking into what a consensus mechanism is. So, said why is consensus necessary? I mean, why is it? What is the necessity for it? Why is it actually useful? So in a traditional system rather, like the bank, right? The government or like a company, industry, whatever, there's a central authority in charge. You hear positions like sorry, you hear positions like managing director, owner of the company. You have positions like maybe different like CEO and others, right? So this is like the central authority in charge of that institution. This is the person that validates every single decision that is being made. Because for every institution to run properly, decisions are being made every single day. So that's the person that oversees. That's the person that oversees every single institution, every single thing that is being done in that institution. So right now, okay, like I said on the slide, said they decide what is true or valid, and everyone has to trust their judgment. I remember using the bank as an example, right? I said that if today the bank, for example, UBA Bank, wakes up that they want to, that they want all of us to come to the bank, right? And maybe take headshots. We're not going to ask, what are you using our headshots for? We're going to go because we trust that whatever they're using the headshots for is in our best interest. But in a decentralized system, there is no authority, there is no board member, there is nobody. That's why the need for a system which controls affairs among several nodes around the world came about. And this need brought about the term consensus mechanism. Now let's bring all of this into the real world. Imagine where we had like a shop in the market, right? Every one of us here have been to a market before. And then let's say in that market, we have like 30 or 40 traders. And there's a particular place where everybody buys every single good they sell from. A central warehouse where everybody, if whether you sell yam or you sell clothes, okay, let's say it's food stuff, right? You sell yam, you sell beans, you sell rice. Every single thing you sell can be found in this warehouse. Now, at that shop, there's a record book where every single purchase is written. A ledger. We talked about a ledger, how the blockchain is a ledger, right? Where we write all transactions. So every single transaction, every single purchase is written in that record book. Now, let's say the name of this place is Allstock Ventures. Then one day, a man named Joey went there, probably to get to restock, right? Purchase new products for his business. And then he meets the sales girl, and she says that she gave him 50 tubers of yam. Now, Mr. Joey cannot remember her giving him anything like that. He cannot remember collecting 50 tubers of yam. And now, why this sales girl is bringing this up is because of the fact that that particular good has not been paid for. So she's trying to balance records, right? And Joey claims that he never got any products of that source from them. Who would the people believe? Who would the owner of the business believe? Who would the other traders believe? They cannot believe any of them because, I mean, we're humans, right? We have the probability to lie. We have the tendency to tell lies. We have the tendency to, we can't actually be sure of who is being truthful at that moment or who remembers what happened on that exact day. Now, the only means of shorting remains that record book, right? Because absolutely nobody believes either of them. They need a system by which they can actually check if they are being truthful about whatever happened. Now, the owner of Allstock Ventures comes in and says, and immediately calls for that record book, right? And asks them to bring the book to him. Now, when that record book is brought, he goes back to this particular date where the sales girl said she gave Mr. Joey 50 tubers of yam. Let's say 5th of January 2026. And we discovered that actually 50 tubers of yam were sent to Joey on the 5th of January 2026. Now, a mistake can happen, right? This can happen to any single person. Joey probably forgot, did this transaction and can't really remember. I mean, January is a long time, right? This is me. And he cannot remember that, okay, I collected 52 bags of yam from these people and I've not paid for it. The moment they can be able to verify that, and every single person there agrees that Joey actually collected these 52 bags of yam, the moment that fact comes into agreement, that moment is exactly what the consensus mechanism does. It ensures that we can be able to verify whatever claims we have without having to go through asking individual parties. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Can someone just maybe unmute and say something or send a message in the chat? Okay.
You can go. We are hearing you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So moving on, what must a consensus achieve? What is actually the reason? I mean, we've already said the reason, right? We need it because it is useful. Now, for every consensus, these are things that it must achieve. Number one is agreement. Now, the consensus must ensure that all nodes agree on the same blockchain state. That is, the exact activity happening on the blockchain at that moment is considered valid by everybody. That moment when everybody agreed that Joey took the 52 bags of yam because of the record that was written in the ledger, that is what the consensus does. It ensures validity. So for validity, it is a matter of making sure that only legitimate transactions are accepted. So if there's something wrong about that transaction, maybe Joey paid for that transaction and the money did not reflect, and Joey has a means to counter whatever the girl is saying, then the consensus has made sure that since that transaction was not legitimate, it cannot be accepted. And then another process is taking place to make sure that that transaction is accepted. So that's what the consensus does for validity. The third thing a consensus does is fault tolerance. Now, if you can remember from our last class, during the intro of blockchain, I said that the blockchain runs in a way that even if one node fails, right, the network keeps running. And I also made mention that the node is equivalent to the computer, your phone, as long as you can log into the blockchain, as long as you're a part of that system, as long as you're running activities on the blockchain, you automatically represent a node, either on your phone, on your tablet, on your desktop, whatever. So it ensures that that network keeps running even if one node fails. It is the consensus mechanism that makes sure of this, so that if one node acts maliciously, maybe I'm doing something that is not right, that is not right according to the rules of the blockchain on my end, I can be shut down, and then the blockchain activities continue, because every single thing is, even though they are connected, they are still treated as separate entities. Now, the last one is the Sybil resistance. If you can see this image here, where I have a hand and then three, should I call them arrows? Yeah, 3 arrows are coming at it. This hand is simply the protector. That's what the consensus mechanism does. It ensures that people who want to create multiple fake identities in order to gain inappropriate access to the blockchain are stopped. Hackers and all that. So that's what the Sybil resistance characteristic of the consensus implies. So now let's go over to the common consensus mechanisms. We have proof of work, whose short form is POW, right? We have proof of stake. We have dedicated proof of stake. We have practical Byzantine fault tolerance. We have proof of authority, proof of history, and nominated proof of stake. Now, I want you guys to take note of this because I don't think I'll be remembering this at the end. Now, in this class, we're going to be talking about the proof of work and proof of stake. I might speak a little on the others, but your assignment, one of your assignments, is to go home and research on delegated proof of stake, practical Byzantine, proof of authority, proof of history, nominated proof of stake. I want that assignment to be compiled in a PDF format, and then you can send it to my DM on Telegram. Please take note, this assignment is actually very important. So, and if you don't submit the assignment, it's as good as the fact that you did not actually attend this class today, right? Because that's what we are going to be using as the attendance for today's class. And in the assignment, please indicate your full name and also your username, so I can be able to link your full name to your username on Telegram. Thank you. So moving over to proof of work. Now, the proof of work mechanism works like this. It requires all participants to take on particular task, complex mathematical problems, proving that they have done a certain amount of computational work. And the nodes have to expend computational energy to earn the right to add the text block. Now, I know all of this actually sounds like jargon, so let's take it to real life. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rubik's Cube. I wish I could get it. I could get a picture of it right now. Okay, let me try to do that here. To be better for those of us that have never seen it before. So a Rubik's Cube. Rubik's Cube. Okay. So this is what a Rubik's Cube looks like. I'm sure all of you can see my screen, right? This is what a Rubik's Cube looks like. So now imagine that you have to solve that cube, right? This cube you're seeing right here. Imagine that you have to solve this cube. Imagine that you have to solve this cube 5 times in 10 minutes. Now, if you're familiar with this cube, you know that once it is scattered, it takes a lot. It actually takes time to rearrange it to this format where we have all colors on each side, where we have similar colors on one side of the cube. Now, imagine you have to solve this cube in 5 times in 10 minutes. And the more time you solve it, the more likely you are to win. But then, it's also good that we acknowledge that this particular cube, solving this cube takes a lot of energy. It takes mental energy, physical energy, because you have to be fast. Your hands have to be moving really fast for you to achieve that amount of speed, right? You have to solve solve this cube, each of them 2 minutes, in 2 minutes, which might not be possible for some persons, but it might be possible for other persons who have mastered the act of fixing arranging the cube together and all that. So now, and the more times you solve, right, the more likely you are to win. Now, the moment you win, every other person in the room verifies your win, right? Because they have seen that you are doing it, and you can be able to do it 5 times, 6 times in 10 minutes. Now, as much as fixing that cube is easy to verify, proof of work is the fact that everybody is seeing that you've done that. So what this proof of work mechanism simply implies is that you've done it, or you solved it, right? And everyone can see that you solved it. We can be able to prove that you've done this work. Now, it is easy to verify, but it takes a lot of energy to actually achieve it. So let's go back to our slide. That's what this particular concept is trying to explain, the proof of work. I'll repeat the assignment again, right? I'll try to repeat it. I don't want to type it on the group. I'll repeat it for only those that are in this class. So now let's go back to how the proof of work works. A new block of transaction needs to be added to the chain. I'm trying to run a transaction, right? Now, the nodes or miners have to find a number, which means a number used once. There's this game that we play, right, where we have like several numbers in our head, and then we ask someone to guess a particular number. Now, that person does not exist in our head, but we expect them to get that exact number, so that if they are not able to get that exact number, they've actually failed. So that's what happens here. They have to find that particular number that makes the block's hash meet the difficulty target or the condition to be met. So that condition to be met is basically the figure that I have in my head. I can tell you now, choose a number from 1 to 60. And in my head, I have 37. If you're not able to pick 37, you have not failed, you have not won, right? The only person, the winner amongst everybody on this group right now, the winner on this, or amongst everyone on this group right now, sorry, is that particular person that picks number 37. So now the first person to find that correct number, that correct nonce, broadcast the block to the network. So now let's say we are not guessing anymore, and then this is like a pool, right? We have like a drum filled with papers or balls, and these balls are numbered. Now I say everybody pick a ball in that drum, and then I expect that a ball with the number 69 is being picked out of 1 to 100. Now, what is the probability that out of 7 persons, somebody actually picks 69? It's very slim, right? But let's just imagine that after 5 trials, one person amongst those 5 persons or 10 persons was able to pick number 67. What's the next thing that comes to that person's head? You shout, right? Hey, I finally picked number 67, right? I'm the winner. That's exactly what happens here. So the first person to get that correct number broadcasts the block to the network. Now every other person runs and they want to see, did he really pick 69 or is this 96 upside down? Now we have to check. Let's say the ball has a head and a tail, maybe something that differentiates the head from the tail of the ball. And we can be able to verify that, oh, actually, it's 69 he picked, not 96. Now, immediately we verify that the person who picked 69, which is the miner who won, receives the reward. Then this process starts again for the next block, which is probably the next number that I want you guys to pick. I don't know if you guys understand the idea I'm trying to put out here. Please, if you do, just react. Yeah, so I can react, so I can see. I can see that you guys are actually following me. Just 2 persons. I'll ask questions. So okay. This is way more encouraging. So let's go back to our slide. Now, the proof of work. There are certain blockchains that use the proof of work mechanism. Now, these are not all, and this is another assignment. So I'm taking note of the ones that I've listed. The first one was explaining and researching on those other ones. Then this one is, I want you guys to go back and find out if there are other blockchains that actually use the proof of work mechanism aside Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero. So these are their symbols, right? This orange one is the symbol for Bitcoin. This is Litecoin or Litecoin. I don't know. This is Monero. So I want you guys to go back and check if this is the second assignment. So if you're writing, please take this down. If there are other blockchains that use the proof of work mechanism, and then if you actually find that there are other ones, make a list of those ones that you found out aside what we have here. So let's go over to the strengths and weaknesses of the proof of work mechanism. So for the strength, it's a proven security model. It's the oldest security model, and we've been able to, because of its usage and it's been used severally, it has been able, it's been proven that it actually secures the blockchain, right? But we have also established that it consumes a lot of energy. While it is simple, its hardware creates centralization pressure. Now, let's just imagine that the same guy who picked 61 in the next shuffle picks 42, in the next shuffle picks 8. Now, at this point, we might not actually be practicing decentralization again, right? Because it's the same person. So it's more like that particular person now has become the central authority. He has become the head. Everything we have to do, we have to go through him. And then another strength of the proof of work, no stake. You don't stake anything. I will perpetual. I will. You don't stake anything. You don't stake your cryptocurrency. You don't stake your money. You don't stake nothing. So there's nothing like the rich getting richer, right? There's nothing like that. But its transactions, for its transaction to reach the final stage, it is actually slow. That's the third weakness of the proof of work. So before we go into the proof of stake, okay, Sir Kings, I would talk about that during the summary. So let's go on. We spent a lot of time trying to set this up. Let's go on. So a bonus fact, yeah, just something I want to throw in and something I just want you to have an idea of. So now for Bitcoin particularly, the network automatically adjusts difficulty every 2,116 blocks approximately. 2016 blocks approximately. So that every average block time is around 10 minutes. Whatever process is going on, whatever problem it is these validators have to solve, everything happens under 10 minutes for each block. That's what this is trying to say. So regardless of how much power is used in the network, it stays under that 10 minutes. Now, this is a way the system uses to regulate itself. Anyways, let's go back to what we have here. So now, the next consensus mechanism we have on our list here is the proof of stake. Now, the proof of stake mechanism is based on the amount and duration of coin holding to select validators. Now, when I was talking about the advantages of proof of work, I said something about no staking mechanism. So there is nothing like the rich getting richer. But in the proof of stake, it demands that you have a portion of your cryptocurrency staked. What staking means is that it is being locked up for a particular period of time. Yeah. So instead of mining or instead of solving problems, participants have to lock up their cryptocurrency as collateral. And those with the highest stakes are chosen as validators. Now, these people with the highest stake, it still depends on how much they stake and how long they stake. So this mechanism does not require extensive computational work. It does not require all of those trying to solve this particular mathematical problem in a few minutes. So if we, from this diagram here, if you can see, I don't even know if this pie is actually shared equally, but let's imagine that this pie is not shared equally, right? Where this particular one that is detached has the highest percentage. So this particular guy now becomes the person that is being listened to, right? It becomes like the authority. Then every other person verifies whatever he has to say. That's what happens in the proof of stake mechanism. So how does the proof of stake work? the validators take an amount of cryptocurrency as collateral. Let's say now, let's bring a real life example into this. Now, in this class where we are, all of us are validators. Every single person here is a validator. And Bamboo, for instance, stakes the highest amount of cryptocurrency. Let's say Solana. Now, Bamboo stakes 300 Solana, while the rest of the next person that stakes the highest might be staking maybe 150 or 200. Now, every one of us rely on Bamboo's opinions, because I mean he has the most to lose, right? If anything happens and Bamboo loses his 300 Solana, how are we going to be able to console him? So we have to rely on whatever he's saying to make our decisions. That's how the proof of stake works. So going back to our slide here, we have that the validators take an amount of cryptocurrency as collateral, which we have already demonstrated using Bamboo. And then when a new block is needed, the protocol selects a validator, which is that person that gave the highest. It's just like where we have a company, right? And everybody buys shares in the company. It's the person that bought the highest shares that they used to listen to. They can never make a decision without that guy, because he is the one that invested the most. So his opinion is the most important in the team. That's how it works in the proof of stake. So that particular guy now is the chosen validator, and he proposes a new block, while every other validator votes or attests that that block is valid. So if, for instance, now we have like an establishment here, let's say a football club, and Mr. Kings is the highest investor with a percentage of 50%, while every other person has like 20%, 30%, 10%, 5%, 7%, and all that. Now, Mr. Kings thinks that the way this team is going, we're not being successful, right? We need to cut down our staff. We need to lay off 100 persons, and then try to use the money that we save from laying off those 100 persons to invest in the club to make sure that the club grows. Now, if every other person on the team feels like, oh, this is actually a great idea, right? We are losing. We are not actually generating as much revenue as we are supposed to be generating. We are losing more value. We are owing money. We are borrowing, trying to settle staff and all that. If we can be able to cut off 100 persons, what it means is that I will, and equal. What it means is that this particular decision is going to stand because we all agree to it. That's what validators voting or attesting that the block is valid means. Now, once there are sufficient attestations, that block is finalized. Now, let's say that board has 10 people, and Mr. Kings has brought the idea. There are 9 persons left, right? Which means if we have a vote of 5 yeses, we can go ahead with the idea. But if we have just 4 yeses and 5 no's, rather, Mr. King is already a yes, right? So if we have 5 more yeses, which makes it 6. But now, the moment we have 5 no's or 6 no's, we cannot go ahead with that idea because everybody does not agree with it. So only when we have sufficient attestations can the block be finalized. Now, the block proposal and attestors receive awards at the end of the day when this block is finalized. That reward now is after we agreed to lay off the 100 employees, we were able to raise, let's say, 10 million more in revenue. That 10 million more has its additional profits to what every single member of that board has at stake in that club. That's what it means. Now, any validator that is being caught acting dishonestly is slashed. Whatever happens between the board members, maybe there's a board member that is doing something, maybe there's a board member that is doing something that is not contrary to the rules of how the club should be run, they can lose a part of their stake. Maybe 5% or let's say 20% of whatever they have already. That's how everybody is being kept in check. Now, let's look at the key concepts of proof of stake mechanism. Now, the key concepts of proof of stake, we have slashing, right, which is the penalty for malicious behavior. I already said it, that any validator that is caught acting dishonestly is going to be slashed. Then we have finality. Finality is the point at which a block cannot be reversed. This decision has already been made and it has been signed, right, by the people that are supposed to sign those documents, by the right office. Now, the moment that document is signed, it cannot be changed again. That's why you see things like maybe I don't know, for people that okay, let me use JAMB registration for example. Like most of us here wrote JAMB, right? So I think it's your name. The moment you write your exam, for you to, I think it's your name. Yeah, you cannot just change your name, right? You have to go back to the JAMB office, maybe their headquarters, to start sorting out those problems, and those things take time. So that's what happens when you say the block is being finalized. At that point, whatever has happened in that block cannot be reversed. And with the proof of stake, its finality is faster than the proof of work. It is achieved faster, so it is more economic. Then we have the validator set, which is the group of active validators at a given time. The people that are active. If we have 10 board members, I'm still referring to the football club, right? We have 10 board members, and we have one that is sick and is in coma. He's not active at that particular time. There might be somebody else that might be able to fill in for him or not. So the number of people that are active at that particular time are called the validator set. Then the last one is the staking pool or the liquidity staking. Now this is a means for smaller holders to participate without running the full validator node. What this means is, when in every company we hear that there are majority stakeholders and minority stakeholders. Now, minority stakeholders do not actually get involved with the serious decisions that are being made, but they are also involved in some way. That's what the staking pool offers smaller holders in the proof of stake. So let's check out who uses proof of stake. We have Ethereum. We have Solana. This is Ethereum symbol. This black pyramid right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but if you can't, this black pyramid right here is the Ethereum symbol. We have Solana, which is this black circle with this S. If you can see my cursor, this S, which is in, I don't know, neon or green, something like that. Then we have Cardano. Cardano is Cardano is this red, right? Okay, this is Avalanche. Sorry, this is Cardano, right? This blue, what I call it, circle. Yes, this blue circle you see here. Then this one is Avalanche, and this is Polkadot. Now, all of these blockchains are on the internet, so you have to go back and then check each of them out. For example, let's see the Avalanche. You will have to check each of them out. Let's just look at the Avalanche. So yeah, this is the symbol for Avalanche. So now, so they say Avalanche is a layer 1 blockchain platform for decentralized applications and custom blockchain networks designed to compete with Ethereum by offering significantly higher transaction speed and lower fees. Now, I feel like as we progress, there's someone that's going to actually like talk about each of these blockchain, but there's a major difference between most of these blockchains. And let me just talk about Ethereum and Solana. Let's compare Ethereum, Solana, and Avalanche. Now, Avalanche and Ethereum run almost the same way, right? But the difference is in the transaction fees. We call in the Web3 community or in the Web3 world, we call Ethereum the big mount coin. Like, if you transact on Ethereum, it shows that you're a big man, like you have money, because the transaction fees are insane compared to Solana, which is known for its cheaper transaction fee and its speed. So the third assignment is going to be for you to find out the difference between every single blockchain that has been listed, both from the proof of work and the proof of stake. What do these blockchains actually do? And then, why are they unique? Is it because of their lower fee? Is it because of their high transaction fee? Is it because they are used for building? Is it because they are used for this? Is it because they are used for that? So I expect that at the end of the day, you have we have 5 here, and from the proof of work we had 3, right? Bitcoin and the other 2. So I expect 8 blockchains with what they are known for and their advantage and their disadvantage, maybe 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. That's the third assignment. So let's look at the proof of stake strengths and weakness. Now, proof of stake, for the strength, it consumes less energy than proof of work. But one of its weaknesses is that it is less battle tested. This is what I mean. When I spoke about, I will do that as well, Sir Kings. When I spoke about the weakness, when I spoke about proof of work, right? Sorry, when I spoke about proof of work, I said that the proof of work has been tested, like it has been used over time. And sorry, we've been able to establish that it can be used for this amount of work, or it can be used for this particular work because of the fact that we have used it over time. But the proof of stake is a new mechanism. So because we have not been able to use it for several things as much as proof of work, that's why we say it is less battle tested. So we cannot be able to predict that it might be able to work under all certain conditions, right? And then the second strength of the proof of stake is that it has faster transaction finality, which I said when I was talking about finality. The second weakness is that wealthier validators have outsized influence. When I was making reference about the staking mechanism, right, that if someone has a very high stake, the person has the most power. I mentioned this, that every other person has to listen to the person. It's just like a family, right? It's normal that in a family, the richest person in the family always has the most important stake. Like, I don't know, it's not like it's based on, maybe, I don't know if it's like an African thing, but I'm just saying based on what I've observed, right? So it is noticed that the person that has the most resources or has like the highest impact in the family is the person's opinion is usually regarded the most. That's the same thing that happens to the proof of stake. Now, the last strength of the proof of stake I have here is that slashing creates strong economic deterrence. Slashing, rather, this is not slashing. This is slashing. It's a typographical error. So, slashing creates strong economic deterrence. Now, deterrence, this word deterrence simply means a means of checkmating. And in this particular instance, what it means is that because validators are scared that their money is going to be slashed, they abide by the rules. So it ensures that nobody is going out of the said rules or the programmed rules for this particular mechanism. That's what proof of stake does. And then the last weakness we are going to treat is that stake concentration can centralize power, which I already said earlier, right, about the person with the highest stake. Because we are inclined to listen to the person with the highest stake, let's just imagine that for every instance, every single time, every year, that person is That person has the highest investment, the highest money stakes, the highest cryptocurrency stakes, right? He's always going to be the one we are going to be inclined to. We'll always run back to him for his opinion. That's the last weakness we have for proof of stake. So here we have that we've come to the end of this class, but I'd like to talk about the other types of consensus mechanisms, which I'll still expect you to do in the assignments, which I'm going to repeat afterwards. But let me just go through them a bit because I have like little notes on them. So for the delegated proof of stake here, let's go back to that slide where we have the common consensus mechanisms. So for the delegated proof of stake, which is like the DPoS, the token holders vote to select a few persons who would validate blocks. Now, everybody here has a piece of the decision, right? Represented with tokens. Now, instead of saying let the person with the highest amount of token be the validator or be the person to validate the block, everybody in that family or everybody in that organization delegates or choose a particular group of persons that would validate the blocks. That's how the DPoS runs. While for the practical Byzantine, its aim is tolerating malicious behavior from a minority of nodes in the network through intense communication among nodes to reach consensus. That means it permits some nodes to fail. There's a room for failure, like there's a particular leverage or leniency. So it permits some nodes to fail or act maliciously, but still ensures that the honest nodes reach an agreement irrespective of the compromise. So irrespective of the fact that there are some of us that may vote negatively, the Byzantine fault tolerance ensures that those people that voted positively, still their agreement is still valid irrespective of the compromise that the negative voters have. And for the proof of authority, it uses a mechanism where pre-approved validators produce blocks. So we have already approved these validators, right? So they have the authority to produce blocks concurrently. We don't need to come back to approve them every single time. That's what the proof of authority does. So it is extremely fast and it is cheap, but it is centralized because we have to trust in those particular validators that we have chosen to keep doing the right thing every single time. And lastly, the last one I would run through is the proof of history. This particular one uses a cryptographic clock to timestamp events and reduce the need for nodes to agree on time. So it's just like going through like previous events that have happened, right? There's no pressure. Everybody can take their time and do what they want. That's what the proof of history illustrates. So we've actually come to the end of what we have for today, but we had people with network issues at the beginning. So I'll run through every single thing we have here. And then when I run through them, we're going to take questions and I'll ask questions as well. And then I expect answers from us. Then I'll recap the assignments and then we can go for today. So we started with why the consensus is necessary. And we established that in a traditional system, like a company, we have an MD, right? A managing director or a CEO, or basically someone whose opinion is said to be valid, right? Somebody who, whatever he says, we have to obey. But now in the blockchain, because it is decentralized and every single person around, every single node around the world, every single participant around the world has an opinion. There is no single authority here. So we need a system that controls the affairs. We are talking about something that runs around the world. Now, let's just take our classes, right? As students, for example. As small as our departments or our classrooms are in school, we see that being able to control 50 students, it's a whole lot of headache. You call for a meeting. This group is discussing about the movie they watched last week. The other group are discussing about the latest song. This other group, they are discussing about that designer clothes that they would like to buy. These other ones are discussing about, maybe let's say they are Web3 charts, right? They're discussing about how the chart has gone down and how they are suffering, how life is hard for them, how hard they hit them and all that. So it's hard for you to be able to bring all these people together. So just imagine bringing nodes all around the world together without a system to control them. That is why the consensus mechanism was brought about, to run this particular system and make sure that this problem does not exist. And then we went through what a consensus mechanism must achieve. The agreement part of it, the validity, the false tolerance, and the civil resistance. Where I said the civil resistance is basically fighting against improper decisions or fighting against attacks, right, that affect the blockchain. And the false tolerance characteristic is the ability for the blockchain to accept faults, right, that a particular node can break down, but the blockchain keeps running because of the consensus mechanism, which is intact. And then we moved over to the common consensus mechanisms. And we talked about proof of work, proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, practical Byzantine, false tolerance, proof of authority, proof of history, and the nominated proof of stake. And we spoke about the proof of work and the proof of stake, stating that proof of work requires you to do a particular amount of work or a particular type of work to prove that you are actually worthy of an opinion in the blockchain state. And then I made reference to Rubik's Cube, which I showed you guys an image, right? That this particular cube is actually difficult to solve, right? I've tried to do it, and there's a time when I was able to complete it, but the truth is still today I can't remember how I did that. Maybe I have to go back to it some other time to check if I can still do it. But it actually takes a lot of thinking and effort, and it actually runs in a sequence. So if you don't know what that sequence is, you cannot be able to achieve whatever. You cannot be able to achieve the task of arranging that particular Rubik's cube in the amount of time that is stipulated. We use that to illustrate how the proof of work works, and we said that it is that person that was able to arrange the Rubik's cube in a particular time that is legible to make in the blockchain. And we addressed how it works. We talked about how if a new block of transaction is needed, the nodes or the miners have to find a nonce, which is a particular number. Then I talked about having a drum where you have to pick a ball with a particular number on it. And we said that the probability of you actually picking that ball with that particular number is extremely low. But then we run for like 5 to 6 times, and we see someone who has been able to pick out that ball. And that's what, the moment that person picks out the ball, the person is excited, right? I mean, if out of 100 balls, I ask you to pick number 67, what is the probability that 5 of you, there's someone that will pick number 67? Even in 7 trials, we might not still be able to see someone pick number 67, right? So the moment somebody finds number 67, maybe Mr. Kings found it, he'll be like, guys, I've seen number 67, right? The excitement and all, he broadcast it to the network. And then every other person comes and they are like, okay, is this really number 67 you picked? Let's check if he brought his own number 67 from the house. Okay, we check and we see that this is actually number 67. We have verified the solution. And then the person who picks number 67 is given the reward. Let's say maybe the reward for picking number 67 is a bottle of Coke. We hand the bottle of Coke over to the person. And then that process starts over again. It resets. That's what happens in the proof of work. And then we established that some of the blockchains that use proof of work are Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Litecoin. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I say Litecoin. So Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero use the proof of work mechanism. And then we run through the proof of work strengths and weaknesses. That amongst the strengths, say proof of security model, because it has been used over time, right? But it still consumes a lot of energy. And we also established that while it is simple, it creates centralization pressure. Where if it's a mathematical problem, right? Let's say we have a group of people and one of them is an engineering student. and it's a mathematical problem, the probability that that engineering student would get that problem faster than the others is extremely high. So just imagine we have 10 mathematical problems. That engineering student has the probability of coming out as the best or the fastest solver 9 times, even 10 times out of 10. Because literally, if we have a law student there, a medical student, and a finance student there, they don't actually have the ability and mathematical abilities like the engineering students. So it creates that centralization pressure. And then another strength, we said that there's no stake. There's no stake, so there's nothing like the rich getting richer. The rich getting richer in this particular system. And then we also said that it has slow transaction finality, where I said that the finality is the point the block gets to that. And then we spoke about the proof of stake, and we established that for the proof of stake, it is dependent on the amount of cryptocurrency or the amount of money you have to put in, you have to lock up. That's what staking means. So now let's say I have 50 Solana, right? And I stake 10 Solana, and I say that, okay, this 10 Solana, I want to leave it here for 6 months. That 10 Solana remains locked up for those 6 months. But if I decide that, okay, I want to bring out this 10 Solana before the 6 months, I have to pay a particular fee. So this is what this whole mechanism, that's how this whole mechanism works, where the amount of coin you place and the duration of placing that coin or locking up that coin makes you eligible for a validator of the block. So instead of solving mathematical problems, it's just everybody bring out your money. For those of us that are rich, let's drop our money, right? Let's lock it up and then see. Let's lock it up and then see how who is going to bring the highest, who is going to be the highest donor and all that. Then we establish how it works, right? That if the validators take an amount of cryptocurrency as collateral, that when the new block is needed, the protocol selects a validator which is the person that has been able to stake the highest amount. So this new validator proposes a new block, and every other validator votes to attest to whether that block is valid or not. And I made an instance where I said that when someone, the person with like the highest investment, makes a particular decision, every other person has to like trade ideas of, is this decision actually nice? Is it not nice? And the moment we have a high number of persons attesting to the fact that that decision is actually valid or is good, then that decision can be finalized, right? We can proceed to other things. At that point, the block is finalized. And then the block proposer are the attestors, which are the people that agree that that block can be finalized. They received their rewards. And if there is any validator that is caught amongst them acting dishonestly, we slash them, right? We take a part of their stake, maybe 20% of their stake, maybe 10%, maybe 5%. And we talked about key concepts in the proof of stake, and we talked about slashing, finality, validator set, staking pool, and all that. And we said that Ethereum uses proof of stake, Solana uses proof of stake, Cardano, Polkadot, Avalanche, and the rest of them, which are not listed here. And then we finally looked at the proof of stake strengths and weaknesses. And so we established that the proof of stake consumes lesser energy than proof of work. So the amount of energy we need for proof of work is so much that we can even use maybe half of that energy or one quarter of that energy to run the proof of stake. And that even as beneficial or as good as the proof of stake is, we also established that it is less battle tested, right? We've not been able to use it for so long because it's a new consensus mechanism. And then for the second strength, we said that it has a faster transaction finality. That means we are able to reach a stage where the block is finalized at a faster rate. And we also established that wealthier validators have outsized influence, which is a weakness. It's a disadvantage because why do we have to rely on the richest man to make the decision for us every single time? What if the richest man is not actually wise in this situation? That's one of the weaknesses of the proof of stake. And then we also talked about slashing, creating strong economic deterrence, where I said that this deterrence is like a system which keeps everybody in check here. So if the validators are scared that their money is going to be slashed by 20% or 30%, 20% to 30% of money is actually a huge deal. Just imagine you're investing in particular sum of money and somebody takes away 20%. You'll be very upset because that's a lot actually, taken from whatever you have. So this particular slashing mechanism keeps everybody in check. And then finally we said that state concentration can centralize power, which is the same thing as having the same person with the highest investment, being the same person with the highest investment over and over again. So for 10 years, if that person is the person with the highest investment for 10 years, what it means is that every decision we have to make, that person is going to be the key opinion leader. That means you are going to listen to that person every single time for 10 years. So just imagine that person is not a wise person. What it means is that for 10 years, we are going to be following decisions that we do not actually want, but because we don't have a choice, we have to follow their decisions. So with that, we have come to the end of today's class. So now we're going to be taking questions. So I don't know if there's anything you did not understand throughout the course of this class. Just react, and then I would allow you to unmute your mic, and then you can speak. Okay, Sir Kings, you can go first.
Right. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for this section. I'll go straight to my question, which is I want to really understand how does proof of stake and proof of work, like that energy part. I want to understand what you mean, like they consume energy.
Okay, remember I said that nodes are computer systems, right? Or like basically your phone or your laptop, your desktop, or whatever. Now, if you've used, like, let's compare two laptops, right? The amount of data, like the amount of data a normal laptop, a regular work laptop consumes, can never be the same amount of data a gaming laptop consumes because of the processing abilities. So that's what that energy there stands for. It might be data, it might be something else, it might be processing space, it might be storage, whatever. So what it means is that the proof of work needs much more data. Let's say now the proof of work is the gaming laptop, right? We need a lot of data to run. Like the laptop I'm using now runs almost like a gaming laptop. So every single time my hotspot is connected to this laptop, my mind is not settled because the amount of data that is being consumed. I can't even think about using that amount of data on my phone in 2 days. So it's basically that how it works, right? That data now represents the energy that is being used in these systems. So the proof of work consumes much more energy than the proof of stake. While the proof of stake is the normal laptop that we use, the proof of work stands as the gaming laptop. I don't know if I've been able to explain what you're trying to ask in a better way.
Yes. Yeah, I think I've gotten your point. So now, but my another question I have now is, the laptops, the laptops are the nodes, right? Like, do they need to be on to keep let's say the blockchain flowing, or for the consensus mechanism to be working, like do they need to be on, like on 247?
No. Just like we have, like, we have like Google runs 247, right? So whether you're online, yeah, Google runs 247. So whether you're online browsing on Google, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Google runs 24/7, right? So whether you're online on Google or not, Google is still running somewhere else. If everybody in the world today, we just make a global call and we say everybody go offline, Google will still be running. it still runs. And what it means is the moment you're connected to Google, what it means is you now have access to Google, not that you are running Google. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's just like we have, okay, just like the sea, right? The river, the water in the sea keeps flowing. It keeps flowing. How you then have access to the sea is when, let's say, you dig a borehole close to the sea, or you connect a pipe, right, to the sea, and then the water from the sea is moving maybe to a swimming pool in your house. So at that particular point, you have connected to it. That swimming pool now is your node. That swimming pool is your laptop, which is representing the node, while the sea is the Google, is the blockchain, which is running 24/7. That's how it is. I don't know if you understand what I just explained now.
Yes. I think I've gotten it. A laptop being the pipe, while the blockchain being the flowing. All right. So then sorry,
Exactly.
one last question. One last question, right?
Yeah, go
Talking about
ahead.
proof of stake, where it depends on the amount that you can stake for a period of time that makes you the, let's say, the controller of the conscious mechanism. There's this thing, I
Yeah,
don't know whether it's applicable to you or is it what it is. Like there's this thing about, okay, let me use for instance, Donald Trump comes up on the news and then talks about something in the news and then the markets go haywire. Like is it like an application or something like that? Does it mean that he has, let me use for instance just let me say that it happens in on Ethereum, that the Ethereum market went
yeah.
haywire when because he couldn't give it. So does it mean that like he has stake on Ethereum that makes it goes that way? Like is here like an example? I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to say.
Now, basically, Donald Trump is just an influencer. Now, in the Web3 world, everything is based on the community. And in the market runs on emotions. So the moment you see a huge figure speaking about a particular narrative, everybody's attention is on that narrative. Because for this person to speak about this thing, that means something huge is going to come out of it. Nothing huge might come out of it, though. It might just be a marketing scheme to scam everybody. Like literally, if they probably now they want to, a new token is coming out, right? They just, okay, when, for instance, now when that Donald Trump token came out, I don't know if anybody here is aware. I think it was 2024, maybe 2025. That's Donald Trump coin came out. Everybody, a lot of people bought it because I mean it's Donald Trump, right? People made a lot of money from it. But right now, does that coin have any value? Now, literally, what happened there was influencing. He is not a validator. He does not have any direct contact with the blockchain. He was only an influencer based on the sentiment of the community. That's the difference between what happens when you have a huge figure talking about a particular narrative and when we have main validators in a blockchain. In Ethereum right now, we have people that will say, okay, this is like the circle that validates whatever happens there, right? This is the circle of validators. Donald Trump does not have anything to do with it. I don't know, maybe he has, or I can't say, but what I'm trying to say is the fact that whatever happens there is among those validators. Whatever you're seeing in real life amongst us that Donald Trump has an influence on is based on the sentiment of the community. I don't know if I was able to clear your confusions.
Yes, yeah, I think you have done justice to that. Even though it's still dragging me back a little bit to centralization, but since you mentioned community, right, I think, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
The truth about Web3, right? We were talking on a space and then we're able to establish the fact that as much as Web3 is decentralized, there's still a factor of centralization in it. And we can't dispute that fact because if we try to, like what I was saying about a class of 50 students, imagine us trying to involve everybody in the world. Only Nigeria, do you know how many hundreds of million we are? Like, forget Nigeria, just in one community. We can never be able to get the opinion of everybody in one community. Unless you want to tell me there are just maybe 70 people or 50 people in that community. So just imagine the king sent a town crier to go to every single house to deliver a message. Like he comes, Mazi Uche, the king say this, he goes to this person, Mazi Okoro, the king. When will the town crier finish that job? Because literally, the number of persons, there's so much that he has to hit the gong and go around. So just imagine we are trying to get opinion from everybody around the world using the blockchain. The possibility is not there. It can't happen. That's why we need to have a group of persons that decide on the important matters, which are the people that we call the validators. So even in this Web3 that we preach and we promote decentralization, there's still that factor of centralization in it. The only difference is that while we have in the traditional system, where we have that particular body deciding on every single thing that happens, our opinion is important to the blockchain community. That's the difference between the Web3 and the Web2. I don't know if any other person has any other question.
Frankly, I actually have a question. Is maybe
Okay,
it's
okay,
actually
now go ahead.
it's actually better from Sakin's last question. Let's say
Okay.
if an influencer is also a validator in the proof of stake, like let's say one of the highest validator in the proof of stake, is
Yeah.
it possible for that? Okay, let's say that person try to like maybe make a decision or try to like make an announcement. Is that person kind of acting suspicious or like acting against the rule or stuff like that?
No. I don't think okay now let's take for instance, I don't know, like most of you might be new like in the CTNG X community, right? Like CTNG, that's Crypto Twitter Nigeria. We have like these big guys that we call like the idolos. Like when we are saying idolos in Web3, we are basically talking about people that have been here for a while, right? People that have experience, people that have achieved and all that. But like we're talking about the OGs, the main guys, people that have been here from like the beginning of, it might not really be the beginning, no. When Web3 started like flourishing in Nigeria, we're talking about people like Zeus, we're talking about people like pharmacists, we're talking about a lot of them in Africa. Now, just imagine a new blockchain, right? Is to be set up today. Maybe the name of that blockchain is Valilala. I don't know where that word came from, but anyways, the name of that blockchain is Valilala, right? And then we have this blockchain, and these guys are like it's just like when you have a new company, right? People buy stakes, right, in that company. These guys have reasonable stakes in this blockchain. Now, a new token is being built, or a new coin or token is being built on this blockchain, and they're trying to push out this token. Now, we don't know that Zeus is a validator in that blockchain, but Zeus comes out on X and tells you, watch out for this token. It's the next big thing. Everybody on CCNG, as long as you can afford it, you will go and buy, because you said it, right? You don't know whether it's a validator or not. So Zeus can also act as a validator, and also an influencer to push whatever they are selling on that blockchain. That's how it works. So you can be a validator or an influencer. Or if they decide that in that blockchain, whoever is a validator cannot be an influencer on social media, fine and good. So the rules, we don't make the rules. It's the people that are in that blockchain. Those validators, they're the ones that make the rules. So they decide the things that can happen and the things that cannot happen. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Bamboo, can you hear me? All right. Does any other person have a question?
Yeah, one more question. Thank you very much for
All
that.
right. Go ahead.
One more question. In the delegated proof of stake and nominated proof of stake, is it very similar to a proof of stake? Like or like I
That's
think
your assignment. It's similar to proof of stake, but there's a difference, right? And that is one of the assignments. So I would like you. I definitely need. Let's just say that right now, even I, the tutor, I don't know anything about it, right? I need you guys to go back. I need you guys to go back and do a research on it. I need you guys to go back and do a research on it. So it's going to be a part of our assignment, and you're going to do research on it. When you go back home, can be able to decipher the difference between. You can still hear me, right? Please just react if you can hear me.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
All right, so you just go back and do a research on your own and then find out if there's a difference, any difference between delegated proof of stake, nominated proof of stake, and proof of stake, or they just wore them different clothes, they just name them different things and they are literally similar things, right? I don't know, so I want you to go back and find out for yourself. Does any other person have a question?
My own question is regarding the assignments so far. Can you please just tell us so that we just
Recap,
take
okay.
yeah.
All right. There's no problem. So while I'm talking about the assignments, I would like to go back to the slide, right? So I can point out the parts for you. Then you can take note of them. Then when I send the slide to you, you can also detect it for yourself. So we have the first assignment is from the proof of work part, where I said that apart from I feel I don't know. So this is a research work for you. That apart from Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero, there are other blockchains that use the proof of work. So what I want you to do now is the first assignment, number one, is go back home, make your research about other blockchains that use the proof of work system. And when you make that research, find out why, like what is unique. Okay, just a list, yeah, for this particular question, just a list. Then the second question is this: for the blockchains that are listed here, right? The 8 blockchains from Bitcoin to Litecoin to Monero to Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Polkadot, and Avalanche. I would like you to make a list of every single of these blockchains and describe what makes each of them unique. Yeah, like what makes each of them, what is one thing that Solana is doing that Ethereum is not doing? Why are people running to Solana instead of Ethereum? Why is Solana, maybe if Solana is regarded as the easiest blockchain, why is Solana regarded as the easiest blockchain? That's what I want you to do. So for this particular, the second assignment is, in the list of the 8 blockchains that were listed in this slide, make a list of them and describe what makes each of them unique. 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. Then for the third assignment, okay, I'm going to make it 4. I just remembered something now that I would like you guys to actually understand. I'm going to make it 4. So for the third assignment is for you to find out other blockchains that use the proof of stake. For this one, you're not explaining anything, just list them. Aside these 5 that are here. That's the third assignment. Then the last one. Now, there's I think it was wait, just give me a moment. Let me confirm this right here on my phone. There's a particular one of these blockchains that migrated from the proof of work to proof of stake. I want to confirm it, and then I want you to find out why they did that. And okay, give me a moment. Okay. Okay. Let me say this before I talk about the fourth assignment. There are 3 properties of a blockchain. They are called the trilemma. The trilemma, TRILEMMA. Now, these 3 properties or pillars of a blockchain are what makes the blockchain decide which particular which particular consensus mechanism is best for it. Are you going for security? Are you going for scalability? Or are you going for decentralization? Now, when you're describing this consensus, when you're describing these blockchains, right? I want to know in that assignment what made Ethereum go for proof of stake. What made Bitcoin go for proof of work? Were they looking for security? Were they looking for this? Were they looking for that? That's what I want to find out. Then I'm trying to find where I have that note in my phone, talking about the merge. Oh my god. Okay, yes, with Ethereum. So they said there's a particular fact that Ethereum migrated from proof of work to proof of stake. I know when I was mentioning Ethereum under proof of stake, some people that are like familiar with the blockchain more than the others. Maybe you were thinking, why is Ethereum under proof of stake? So like there's a fact that Ethereum migrated from proof of work to proof of stake. I want you to tell me why they did that. Like I want you to tell me why they did that, which makes it 4 assignments, right? That's assignment number 4. Why did Ethereum migrate from proof of work to proof of stake? Is there a particular reason why they did that? If there is, I would like to find out why they did that. So that's the 4 assignments that we have to do.
I think it's
Now, like
five
I said
actually.
earlier, okay, no, it's not 5. Oh, that other one I said was a fact. Or is it 5 you wrote?
Yeah, I think the first one was you asked what made Bitcoin go for proof of work, what made Ethereum go for proof of stake, like all those stuff. Then the last one was now why Ethereum migrated from proof of work to proof of stake.
Okay, if it's 5 for your end, no problem. If it's 4 on any other person's end, no problem. At the end of the day, I want to see 5 or 4 questions submitted in the PDF, right? So when you're done with the assignments, you just type and then you send it to you know you know my profile here on TG. So just send it to my DM on TG, right? Then when you do that, just tag me on the group and confirm that you've sent it. So today I normally take like attendance of like your full names, but I'm not going to be doing that here because your attendance is going to be the assignment you're submitting. That assignment and your full name in that assignment. When you indicate your full name, please also indicate your TG name because I might not be able to recognize the fact that let's just take an example. Emmanuel James is Bamboo, right? So once you indicate your full name, Emmanuel James, you indicate your TG name as well, Bamboo. So I know that this person is Bamboo. So we've come to the end of today's class and it's been a nice session, yeah. So if you've not followed Abia Web3 Network on all socials, do well to follow us. It's a requirement for this program. And also my username on X, right, is at DataRightX. It's here on the screen at DataRightX. So if you've not connected with me on X, you can do that. And if you have any questions or any concerns, you can shoot a DM and ask your questions. If I don't reply immediately, please don't be angry. I sometimes I forget that I have a DM X, yes, but I try my best to always go there to check my messages. So if you send a message, I'm going to reply once I can. Yeah, so I think that's all. That's all for today. So thank you very much guys for joining today's class again. I think this is the last class I'm going to be handling. So I'd like to say thank you for listening, thank you for being attentive, and thank you for showing up every single class and keep showing up. It's just today is the 4th day, right? It's just 10 more days and then you can beat your chest and say, oh, you know everything, every single thing there is to know about Web3 basics. So thank you very much as well to the organizers, and I am extremely grateful for the opportunity you've given me. And by the way, you can make a post about today's class on X, and when you do that, tag me on X. I'll do well to comment and support every single person I can. All right, so thank you guys. Okay. It's not saying anything. Okay, um since he's not here, all right, it's time for the end of class. We address episode winners address. Do also by the way the assignment. Let's try to submit the assignment at the end of tomorrow so that we can compile the names and then send one to your organizer so we can take it from you guys, right? So thank you very much, man. It's gonna be a good night's rest. See you guys tomorrow in the next. You can't hear me. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. You can hear me now, right? Okay, so I was saying that we're going to be ending the class here. So everybody should have a good night rest and make sure you show up for tomorrow's class. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.